Another question. The question says, can you please explain to me the concept of concubines at the time of the Prophet? Why is it a sin? Why is it not a sin when it is sleeping outside wedlock?
Who decides what is a sin and what is not a sin? When you say, because this is really strange, you're using the Quran to say that sleeping outside of wedlock is forbidden, yet the same source told you about concubines and now you're rejecting it. So either you accept both or you reject both. If you're going to say that sleeping outside of wedlock is forbidden based on the Quran, then based on the Quran, the concubines were made as an exception. And if you know, there's no way around it. So this is now you playing around with the religion. I advise you not to play around with the religion. Now that leaves a very big question, because some of you are like, what? Concubines? Right hand possession? What are the Muslims doing? Say time out before you freak out. That wasn't meant to rhyme, but it did. Look, the way the world functioned then and then the progress until today is as such. Whenever there was warfare, whenever a country invaded or defeated the other, the general rule is that the property of the defeated country become the possession of the invaders or the victorious one. That's just how the world functioned. Don't get mad at us because of how the world used to be. If you have a problem with that, then you should raise that issue to David and Solomon as well, because they had concubines. This is something that is related to prophethood as well, just so you will understand. So the way the world functioned is that there was this type of situation. Mind you, it was not based on racial differences. It was not white people, black people type of thing, ownership, as happened in the history. This had nothing to do with race. It was that when this country owned the other one, they became the property. So now you have a lady whose husband might have died in the war, whatever the case may be. Now she's on her own, and she became the property of this other family. These are facts, not Islam, not Islamic. These are historical facts that happened during the time before Islam and throughout Islam. Now when Islam came, some may suggest that it should have eradicated that altogether, tooth and nail. However, Allah decreed that that concept is not completely eradicated, it remains. But it was regulated in such a way where people are not taken advantage of, and then it is not misused, and that the many sins in Islam, the expiation for them was the emancipation of that owned person. Because basically it was human beings owning other human beings, not based on race. So now what happened was, you have this lady who's living in the household of this man. There are two scenarios. Either he marries her, which he could, or that she lives there and she is a foreigner to this man. She is a foreigner to this man. So Islam allowed the man to protect himself in some ways, and the lady, from being able to have relations with this woman even though she is not his wife. And that was stipulated by the Creator. You will find that people that object to that are the same ones who don't mind that a boyfriend and girlfriend have sexual relations together. Even though this, according to all religions or Abrahamic religions, is a sin. So now you're telling God that when He regulated something in a particular way, made it an exception to the rule, you are displeased with that. However, you are pro-fornication, pro-adultery, you have no issue with it according to the way human beings are living now. So you tell God what He made right is wrong, and what He made wrong should be right. This issue is one of the most difficult ones for people to comprehend, I understand. But I would say the only reason some might not understand it is because they lack the foundation upon which they can comprehend such data. And if you remain to be at odds with this idea, then I take you back to my previous suggestion. create your own heavens and earth, create your own creation, and do not allow concubines to be the possession of the man. Don't allow it. To you, this is bad. In your system, it is not good. Go ahead and do it. If you cannot do it, then conform. Conform to the facts. This is the fact of the situation. Now, of course, if she had a child, she is automatically freed. She is automatically no longer a concubine. So there are certain rules and regulations to that relationship, which Allah allowed for the man and for the woman for their own well-being. Otherwise, they would fall into fornication. They would fall into fornication because they are coexisting in the same house. Because that is a high probability, there was this outlet. But it was made in such a way that it is phased out. Islam didn't eradicate it, but it recommended the phasing out of this fact of life that existed pre-Islamically. It was not Islam that introduced it. Otherwise, the same person who objects, unless this person is completely non-religious, the same person who objects should object to David and Solomon. Say, why did you have 300, how many according to the Bible? 700 concubines. Solomon, 700. Go object to him. And object to his God as well. If the Prophet did it, and that was something that was done with the prophets, then who are you now to come and raise an issue about something that God allowed the prophets, let alone regular people? Say, you don't know God then. You just don't know, and you need to learn who your Creator is, and you need to learn that His wisdom is beyond yours. While you are hurt, you might be hurt because of a certain thing in this whole equation that is not clicking in your brain. It is actually a good solution in the long run. Similar to that is 4 wives. You could argue as well, why is a man allowed to have 4 wives? I mean, come on now. A woman has to share her husband with another dude? Wait, sorry. Slip of a tongue. Alhamdulillah, that doesn't happen. She has to share her husband with another lady. Tell any sister here, how do you feel about that? If you like the idea, give me 1 thumb up. I thought so. All this is like, meh. Not me, I hope. Not my husband. It is something that they don't like. Why? Because naturally a woman does not want to share her husband. And so she is pro, 1 man for me, only for me. Nobody else should be in his life. Sure, if we were to look at that fact of life from the sister's lens, we would all agree. I would say, sister, I feel you and I feel with you, and yes, your husband should stick to you only and see nobody else, marry nobody else. But if you look at it now from another lens, you would realize what type of issues may arise from having this type of society, where each man has 1 woman, when we have surplus of women versus men in terms of numbers. In wars, men die. On average, men die more than women. So now if every man married 1 woman, how many women will remain with no husbands? So many of them. So what are you going to tell them to do? Fornicate? Or live the life of celibacy for the rest of her life? She doesn't want that. She needs a man in her life. So then Islam opened the door for that to take place, so that these sisters are looked after. Let me give you another benefit in wisdom. How many wives cannot stand their husbands 7 days a week? Some may love him, and some is, this guy is just a heavy weight on my shoulders, man. And if he were gone for 3 days, I'll be a happy camper. So then we say, okay, sister, if he's too much for you 7 days a week, here, take some time off. So some ladies are actually happy because there's less friction, less argument, less fighting. He's dividing his time. Plus, now when he's around, there's more appreciation of each other rather than being at each other's necks. So in some cases, this is a solution. Okay, a woman is barren. She does not produce. You want her husband to dump her? Who's going to marry her next? Does she really have to wait until some guy who also doesn't want children come around? What are the chances? It almost never happens. Every man wants kids. So now Islam, instead of dumping this wife like she's some sick thing, she's not. It's the decree of God that she doesn't have children. For wisdom, he knows she stays with her husband, and now he gets to marry another one so he can have children and still look after her. And the benefits and the wisdom are endless. And if I were to give a lecture about the benefits of having a concubine, it would be similar. You might agree, you might disagree, I respect that. But I'm just trying to highlight the fact that if you look at it from a very narrow angle, you cannot even conceive it. How can it be okay to have a concubine? I don't care what this guy's saying. Even if the other answers were good, I'm not buying this one. I understand. But I'm telling you because you're looking at it from a very limited scope. If you broaden things and you look at history and facts, you will see that everything Allah decreed is wise.
I think what disturbs people is that they think that their false assumption that women, the concubines were raped and forced.
Raped? No way.
That's what disturbs them.
No violence or none of that stuff is allowed. It's something that should be done willingly. If it's not willingly, then it's gone.